We must understand, like Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, these languages have more literature than Hindi probably. So you cannot suddenly say they must go and everywhere everybody speak Hindi. That's not going to work. So what is the national language? You must understand, India is a nation, a unique nation, which is not formed on the basis of sameness of anything. Some very iconic places, I think for once we should sit down and say, okay, these 2-3 sites, let's settle this. Rest of it, don't raise it again. I think we should do that instead of going one at a time, and keeping the controversy on, unnecessary enmity between communities. This is not necessary.
During the survey, an object was discovered in the drain ablution pool alleged by the petitioners to be a Shiva Ling, leading to the court sealing off and allowing a congregation of no more than 20 people. The Supreme Court did not grant full relief but allowed unfettered access to the mosque and transferred the decision on merits to the district court. The Archaeological Survey of India (ASI) presented its survey report, revealing the existence of a large Hindu temple at the current site of the Gyanvapi Mosque. Before we talk about the Gyanvapi Mosque issue, let's first watch Sadhguru's video.
In India, there's a big chatter about what's happening at the Gyanvapi Mosque, where there are two different kinds of contestations. One by the Hindu petitioners who are saying that this was originally a temple which was raised by Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, and the other led by Asuddin Owaisi and many others who feel that because of the existence of the places of worship Act 1991, the status of the Gyanvapi Mosque should stay as it is. I'm very curious to know, as somebody who looks closely at society, how you think this very contentious issue should be looked at and addressed.
See, I've been on the road, particularly on a two-wheeler, and I must tell you, till now I've covered 25 nations, 26 nations now. 26 nations and 63 days on the motorcycle, and I have done the 467 events along the way. So it's been a breathless schedule. I really completely unaware of what's happening in the Indian news. I think I shouldn't make a comment without knowing the full nature of what is happening there.
But your broad sense of this idea that there were multiple temples which were raised by the Mughals, and now from Hindu Samaj this demand that, you know, what's happened, for example, at Kashi, what's happened at Mathura, Hindus should have the right to pray over there. Philosophically, how do you see this?
See, thousands of temples were razed to ground during invasions. Well, we couldn't protect them then. Now, talking about all those thousands of temples doesn't make sense, because you cannot rewrite history in that sense. But at the same time, very iconic places. I think the communities should sit down together and work this out. This is not for the benefit of the nation, that everything we fight, whatever you say I will oppose, whatever I say you will oppose. This is not the way forward. Some very iconic places, I think for once we should sit down and say, okay, these 2-3 sites, let's settle this. Rest of it, don't raise it again. I think we should do that instead of going one at a time, and keeping the controversy on, unnecessary enmity between communities. This is not necessary. I feel as a civilized society, for once we should sit down and say, okay, what are the issues? Can we settle it or not? We should sit down and settle it. There must be some give and take in this. About this particular thing, I am not conversant with the news, so I don't want to make a comment on that. But I feel that will be a way forward for both the communities, above all for the nation. It's important. I think we should stop thinking in terms of Hindu community and Muslim community. Right now, India is at a juncture where if we do the right things, we could be a significant nation in the world in terms of economy, in terms of political power, in every way. Nation could become a very significant force in the world. I don't think we should squander this, going on making everything into a big dispute. I know local politics, people will try to play for their advantage. I would beseech people and the news agencies and media houses not to make this controversial. Just make sure that we go towards a solution once for all, rather than raking it up every few years.
So your proposed solution is identify a few crucial sites, sit and talk.
Just sit and talk.
Do you
Don't-
think that there is space in society for such dialogue?
There is definitely space, we just have to create the willingness. In this, media houses have a significant role. If you call for debates with the sensible people from both communities, if that narrative begins to build, definitely it's possible. There is no dispute that cannot be settled.
There's been this demand that there be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, like there was in the post-apartheid era in South Africa, where this business of denial ends and the barbarism of Mughal emperors and of invading armies is accepted, and then begin a process of truth and reconciliation.
Definitely, something like that, not necessarily in the same terms, because that was of a different nature. But this also is there is pain in people's hearts. So sit down and talk rather than just fighting endlessly, arguing endlessly. First of all, those who are in active politics should be kept out of these things, because this should not be made into a political mileage or a political capital for anybody. But for the conversation in the country should move beyond communities and come to the nation.
And on the issue of the role that the judiciary can play, because for example in the Ayodhya case it was said that, you know, this is a one-off exception made for Ayodhya, now no other matter should be brought up. You said identify two key sites or few key sites, possibly say Kashi and Mathura, but then there are demands being made for the Taj Mahal to be renamed, for rooms to be opened, for the Qutub Minar to be called the Vishnu Stham, because there also there were temples. So the fear in your proposed solution is, how do you know it will end at 2?
No, the nature of India is there were temples in every street, in every place, all right? This is the nature of the country. Well, historically that's been changed in many ways. There is bitterness in a whole lot of people, so that's why I'm saying a few iconic places you choose and sit down and say these few things you settle, after that never again. It should be raised once again, once again. At the same time, whatever historical blunders or cruelties that have happened, there must be some kind of, you know, if not, I'm not even asking for apologies or anything, because there are no Mughals sitting there to apologize for you. Muslims of the country are Indian citizens, all right? So there is nobody there to apologize to you. Mughal kings are not sitting there to apologize. There's no such thing. Little reconciliation. Okay, something has been taken away from you. Okay, let's settle this. This approach should come. Above all, we must settle these things quickly if you want nation to move ahead. And anyway, even if you want to build a temple or a mosque, you need soil. So let's talk soil, Rahul.
Yeah, sure. No, of course, we spoke about soil at length in the beginning. I also, I'm curious to know your ideas on this big South versus North contestation on the language war. It started with a Bollywood star demanding that Hindi be pushed, and then there was a big pushback from Southern stars. Your idea on...
the nation was formed in a certain way. When you form linguistic states, as language as the basis of dividing states, it is a natural promise all languages will be respected. Please keep it that way. Don't try to change the fundamental ethos of the nation. Just because a certain language has more population and you think you must push them down, this will not work. So if you go by that, always majority should push everybody down. That is not the nature of India. That is not the nature of India, whether in terms of religion or language or community, whatever. That is not the nature of our nation. Majority has some pains, we can sit down and discuss that. But when it comes to language, we formed states on linguistic basis. That means all languages will have equal place in the country. Well, some people think if you make everything into one language, India will prosper. I don't see it that way. It is very important to create a language. It has taken thousands of years. We must understand, like Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, these languages have more literature than Hindi probably. So you cannot suddenly say they must go and everywhere everybody speak Hindi. That's not going to work. So what is the national language? You must understand, India is a nation, a unique nation, which is not formed on the basis of sameness of anything. Not sameness of religion, sameness of race, sameness of language, sameness of nothing. We are a kaleidoscope. That's our attraction. We must see how to make the kaleidoscope really attractive and wonderful. That kaleidoscope is not in conflict. That has always been the nature of the country and we must keep it that way. That is the beauty, that is the biggest draw for the future if you want to draw the world towards India, not because everybody speaks one language, because every few miles somebody is speaking a different language, that is the attraction.
Gyanvapi Mosque. The pre-mosque history involves the existence of a Vishweshwar temple at the site dedicated to the Hindu deity Shiva. Constructed in the late 16th century by Todar Mal and Narayana Bhatta, the temple played a significant role in establishing Banaras as a prominent center for Brahmanic gatherings, attracting scholars from Maharashtra and other regions. Architectural historian Madhuri Desai suggests that the temple featured intersecting ivans influenced by Mughal architecture with prominent pointed arches and a carved stone exterior. Before this temple, scholars debate what might have existed at the site. The history is contested by both the local Hindu and Muslim populations. Desai highlights the complex histories of the original temple and the tensions surrounding the Gyanvapi location, sharing the sacred topography of the city. Accounts of temple's destruction and reconstruction form a key part of recent narratives, particularly from the Hindu perspective. The original temple, said to have been uprooted by Ghurids in 1193 or 1194 CE, was allegedly replaced by Razia Mosque. Subsequent constructions were carried out by different rulers, only to face demolition due to religious favor, notably by Aurangzeb. The historicity of the temple is a subject of debate among scholars. Diana L. Erk supports the Hindu belief in an Adi Vishweshwar premises as the original home of the Lingam, but critics exist regarding her use of medieval sources. Hans T. Baker suggests the original temple devoted to Avimukteshwara was located in the Gyanvapi precincts, but questions whether the Razia Mosque was built in its place. Others, like Desai, reject the existence of early medieval Vishweshwar temple, asserting that it gained prominence in the Kashikan and became the principal shrine of the city under Mughal patronage. Desai views Hindu claims as part of a large narrative of continuous oppression by Muslim invaders, reinforced through colonial knowledge production. In September 1669, Aurangzeb issued orders of destruction of the temple, and shortly thereafter, a mosque, likely constructed by Aurangzeb himself, took its place. The mosque's facade drew inspiration from the entrance of the Taj Mahal. Interestingly, the temple's plinth remained mostly untouched and was repurposed as the mosque's courtyard, while the southern wall, including its cusped arches, exterior moldings, and toranas, became the Qibla wall. Despite the desecration, oral accounts suggest that Brahmin priests were permitted to reside within the mosque premises, maintaining their privileges over Hindu pilgrimage matters. The remnants of the temple, particularly the plinth, remained a popular destination for Hindu pilgrims. Over time, the mosque became known as the Alamgiri Mosque, named after Aurangzeb. But the common name Gyanvapi Mosque originated from a nearby sacred water body called Gyanvapi, well of knowledge, likely predating the temple. Scholars argue that political motives rather than religious zealotry were the primary driving force behind Aurangzeb's decision to demolish the temple. They point out that Aurangzeb has protected and patronized various temples, ghats and maths, including those in Banaras, both before and after the demolition. Some scholars, such as Catherine Asher, posit that the zamindars of Banaras and local Brahmins were frequent rebels against Aurangzeb, often accused of interfering with Islamic teachings. Consequently, the demolition is seen as a political message, a warning to the influential zamindars and Hindu religious leaders in the city. Others like Cynthia Talbot, Richard M. Eaton, Satish Chandra, and Audrey Trisket share similar views. Additionally, it is noted that the temple's demolition coincided with heightened conflicts with the Marathas. The Oxford World History of Empire concludes that while the Gyanvapi demolition may be interpreted as a manifestation of Aurangzeb's orthodox inclinations, local politics played a significant role, and his policies towards Hindus and their places of worship were varied and contradictory, rather than consistently agnostic. In March 1959, the Hindu Mahasabha organized a Rudra Abhishek ceremony at the Mosque Pavilion during Mahashivratri. Subsequently, 2 of their workers were sentenced to 6 months of imprisonment for disturbing law and order. This incident led to ongoing protests by Mahasabha members at the Mosque Pavilion over the following months, demanding the restoration of the temple. By July, a total of 291 satyagrahis participated in 23 batches, courting arrest and serving varying durations of imprisonment. In November of the same year, the RSS adopted a resolution with similar demands. The site remains a focal point of religious tension, access to the mosque is restricted for non-Muslims and photography is prohibited. Police pickets alongside units of the RAF are stationed in the approaching allies. Barbed wire fences surround the walls and a watchtower is in place. Despite these security measures, the mosque is not heavily utilized or integrated into the cultural life of the city. On the eve of the 2004 Indian general election, a BBC report highlighted the deployment of over 1,000 policemen around the site. On May 12, 2022, the civil court responding to a new plea from 5 Hindu women seeking permission to worship the Shran Gauri image at the southern wall of the Gyanvapi Mosque, granted approval for a video survey of the site. Despite protests from local Muslims and accusations of bias made by AIM, All India Muslim Personal Law Board, against the appointed commissioner, the survey proceeded. During the survey, an object was discovered in the drain ablution pool alleged by the petitioners to be a Shiva Ling, leading to the court sealing off and allowing a congregation of no more than 20 people. AIM claimed it was a stone foundation and later approached the Supreme Court of India, seeking an indefinite stay on the survey, citing violations of the Places of Worship Act and the removal of all the restrictions imposed on the mosque. The Supreme Court did not grant full relief but allowed unfettered access to the mosque and transferred the decision on merits to the District Court. On January 25, 2024, the Archaeological Survey of India (ASI) presented its survey report, revealing the existence of a large Hindu temple at the current site of the Gyanvapi Mosque. The 839-page ASI report stated that the western wall of the mosque was part of the demolished temple, with 32 inscriptions found on pillars in Devangiri, Kannada and Telugu scripts. Efforts to erase symbols on the temple pillars were noted. The survey also uncovered a broken Shiva Linga and terracotta figurines of Hindu deities including Shiva, Vishnu, Hanuman, Krishna and Ganesha in the debris of the western wall of the mosque, providing clear evidence of a Hindu temple's existence at the current mosque site.